You're now listening to Off the Collar, powered by Backswing Golf Events.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Off the Collar. It's your host, Nick Johnson. Unfortunately, Shelby is under the weather, so she's making me run this solo, but I think we'll be okay. I've done a few of these so far, so I'm not too worried. Maybe I'm a little nervous. I don't know. But our guest for this week is hopefully going to calm my nerves. Lexi Salberg, thanks so much for joining us this week. How's Arizona treating you right now?
I think that Arizona's been great so far. I'm sure if you ask someone else, they will be sick of the heat, but I've been traveling the last 7 weeks, so to get some predictable, nice sunny weather, I'm happy with it.
Awesome. I've been sweating your last name literally all day because I went to college with a girl her name was Lexi Salzberg.
Really?
So yeah, I was thinking about that literally all day. I'm like, I'm gonna butcher this so bad. So
No, you
all right,
did great.
check that off the list. We're good to go. But yes, I think when I went to your profile, I'm like, why do I know this name? Uh,
I didn't know there were basically two of us.
well, I'm sure there's probably more. I think I saw something recently where there's like 50,000 of people with the same name. I don't know how true that is.
For you, it's
Instagram could be
probably
lying.
very true.
For me, it's yeah, 100. Well, yeah, 100% true. Everyone that Googles my name thinks I'm like a professional baseball player. Because there was like a famous one that played for the Yankees. That's usually the common one.
I mean, that's not
Or
a,
like
it's not bad to be confused with someone who played for the Yankees.
No, no. It's not as bad as Karen Kim thinking I was Ricky Fowler last week. So, I mean, it uh, when half of my ward I shouldn't say half. When 99% of my wardrobe is Puma stuff because I was there for 5 years.
Right.
It comes with the territory. I think I have two items that are orange. I can't do it. It's just and now that he's like wearing the Oakleys, that was my look too, the full on Oakley look. He's taking my look, and I'm taking him to court for it.
Yeah.
Um, well, I probably would lose. Yeah, I would
That's all
definitely lose.
right. We can do like a who wore it better in the magazine of
I don't
the
think I'm
new
gonna win
issue.
that battle.
I don't know. If you wore it
No,
first, then maybe you wore it better.
no, there's no proof I wore it first, so I think I'm losing that battle. Um, but so Lexi, you're from Glencoe, Illinois,
Yes,
originally, right?
yes, yes,
Just
I
just
am.
north of Chicago.
Yes,
Um, so I had a teammate who is from Lake Forest, which is just outside of there, right?
yeah.
Just north of it.
It's
He
so close.
Did you ever play Conway Farms
Yes, I have.
up in that area?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
that's my extent. That is literally the extent of my knowledge of that area.
No,
he,
it's
he will
good.
be he will be listening to this. Perry, be proud that I remembered Conway Farms.
I mean,
He
how
also
could
told
you
me like
forget it?
I don't know. I mean, he also told me, isn't that like where Luke Donald plays all the time? And yeah,
Yeah.
so, um, but like I said, that's my extent of knowledge for that area. Why don't we go back to little Lexi and tell us like how was it growing up in that area? How did you get started playing golf? And we'll go from there.
Yeah. So really little Lexi originally wanted to be an actress. She wanted to be on Broadway, on TV, in the movies, you name it. And weirdly, one summer, my mom's best friend's family ran a golf camp right down the road from us at Glencoe Golf Club. And so she threw me in the camp for whatever, 4 weeks was the session. And it wasn't so much that I loved the game of golf right away. It was more younger Lexi loved the teenage boys that were teaching, you know,
Oh,
the
okay.
classes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and just like through that, I honestly became obsessed with golf, like just being competitive all the time and always working to get better. And really from there, I just just kind of snowballed into, playing in middle school and then in high school. And then I had a bunch of success in high school and then obviously played on in college. But it was difficult because it's cold most of the year. So
Hmm.
I was hitting a lot of balls indoors on mats, which
Right.
is so different than hitting on grass. You
Hmm.
basically have perfect impact every time you hit a ball on a mat. Um,
Wait, is that why I was hitting it so good on the range today?
were
Like
you off mats?
I was on straight mats. Yeah. Oh, you know what? I needed the ego boost, so I'm just gonna say it was me.
Okay.
Um, but it is funny. Like after I hit balls for like a couple hours this morning, and my wrist was like bugging me. I was like, oh, maybe I'm getting older, or maybe I'm just hitting off a mat. Um, but did you have like didn't don't you have a couple siblings? Like, was there any sibling rivalry growing up? Like,
Not really. So my sister's not that much younger than me, and she did golf camp with me as well. She is not the athletic type. She is way more like creative and artsy, so it wasn't really her thing. And my brother's about 5 years younger than me, so he was just someone who loved all sports. So there really was no competition within our family,
uh,
which was actually kind of nice because then, I got to be the golfer, and my sister got to be the fashion girl, and my brother was like the king of all sports. So it worked out okay.
that's pretty rare. I mean, I always think that if you have siblings, well, more or less an only child. I have a half sister that's I think she's like 12, 13 years older. So we kind of grew up separately. Um, but I'm always envious of those siblings that had that rivalry, but you guys didn't have that. I would think there's always like an undertone, even if you don't speak about it out loud. Like you always want to do better than, you know,
Then
the
the other
people in your
one,
family a little bit.
I
I don't know.
mean, I will say, so my fiance used to play professional golf as well. And since the day we met up until now, anytime we play together, he may not think so, but I get super competitive and I'm keeping track of his score. And so we don't speak on the golf course because if the match is close or, he's beating me or whatever it may be, like I'm locked in. I'm locked and loaded and ready to kick his butt. So there's
Right.
definitely that underlying, rivalry, but as with my fiance
Yeah.
and not with my siblings.
So are you guys playing for like who does dishes or who's cooking that night? What's the wager while you guys are out there?
Yeah, usually it's like who pays for groceries next, or like if I win, I want him to go take my car for a wash because it's like I hate doing that. I don't know why. Like little petty things.
Hmm.
He has to do the laundry if I win, or I don't know,
Okay,
something
so
silly.
what's the tally right now? How many trips is he taking to the car wash?
Not enough.
Not enough.
Not enough. Which is why I got new irons. So
Okay,
I'm uh I'm preparing to take less trips to the car wash myself.
nice, nice. It's always fun when you get something new. I just um, it's technically not new, but I like converted an old putter into like a wrist lock
Oh,
putter, so it feels new.
yep. Oh, I've
It's
done that
it
plenty of
was
times.
it's kind of like a grip change, right? You get new grips, they feel like new clubs. So
Yeah.
it's kind of it's a mental trick more than anything
What
else.
putter?
It's a Cobra,
Of
shocking.
course.
Yeah, but it's just like a wide blade kind of a
Yeah.
putter. Something I've had some success with, but I realize I haven't been practicing very much, so that wrist lock helps me kind of keep my head on straight. And I had some success. I played with it when I was playing professionally, so it was like going back to an ex girlfriend kind of. Maybe not the best way to phrase that,
Well, it's
but
not
it
a
was the
bad thing to
first
go
thing
back
that.
to an ex,
Eh,
especially if if you had happy memories with them.
yeah, yeah, we'll keep it
Yeah,
at
there we
happy
go.
memories. So you went to Northern Illinois University, right, and majored in marketing.
Yeah.
What was the overall experience like for you there? I did a little bit of digging and could immediately relate to some of the results you had, and I was like, man, I didn't. I didn't have that great of a college career, and not to throw you under the bus or anything, but probably wasn't the, you know, results you were hoping for. But why don't you give us a little bit of an idea of how you chose that school, like how your years were there. I did see something about like a couple red shirts in there, so I'm curious about that.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
So originally, I went to the University of Kentucky my freshman year, and I was a walk on there. Their team was totally stacked. And I really was coming on as a redshirt and really more as of a developmental year for me.
Right.
I mean, when you're 18 years old, like you're still a child, when you've never left home before, like you don't really know what is expected of you in the college world, D1, let alone being alone. So the the change, not just in culture, but I guess in environment was, I guess, shocking to me. I tried to balance everything like I thought I could in high school, and it just wasn't a very positive experience for me. So someone who prides ourselves in good grades and good golf, like I was put in a position to where I was really down on myself, and my golf got worse, my grades got worse. Like I was super unhappy. I didn't know if I wanted to even play golf in college after the experience I had. And it wasn't until the summer going into my sophomore year that I was playing out at Rich Harvest Farms, which is in Sugar Grove, Illinois, kind of in the middle of nowhere, but it's an unbelievable course. They've hosted a Palmer Cup there. They just had a live event there, but I was playing out there with my dad and a family friend, and the coach was out there from Northern Illinois. That's their home course. And we had briefly chatted, and she had sent me an email saying, listen, we have a spot open on our team. I would love for you to come and meet the girls and see campus and this and that. And I wasn't really even open to playing golf in college anymore. But I met the girls and they were great. And I saw campus, and it was very different than what it was at Kentucky. And it just seemed like the experience was just completely opposite. So I decided to give it a go. And so I started freshman year at Northern Illinois, and it took me a really long time to kind of regain my confidence on the golf course.
Hmm.
So I would say that my overall experience was definitely a positive one. I think that the difference in coaching technique, the difference in, you know, the mental training that we got, the difference in the girls on the team, and even in the support of the academics, it helped me build confidence and strength over the 4.5 years that I was there to somewhat play to the
Hmm.
standard that I thought I was going to right out of the gate, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah, for sure. It was a Kentucky a bigger school and AIU a smaller school, or are they both relatively large?
I think Kentucky's definitely bigger, not by
Hmm.
much, but I think just in general, the national like the way that it's nationally recognized is so much larger than Northern Illinois. It's an SEC
Right.
school. They've got a huge football program, an unbelievable basketball program. Um, I mean, there's no professional sports in Kentucky, so the two main universities are all that anyone cares about over there. Whereas Northern
Right.
Illinois, it's not on such a grand scale.
Right. I think you hit a really good point here where, it we're seeing it a little bit more and more in our generation and younger kids where college is maybe having less and less power behind it, where people are questioning whether it's worth going or not. But I think from your experience, and I can relate from my experience, it's creating character in people and trying to figure out how to adapt to certain situations more so than the education. I feel like you're going to get a solid education wherever you might go. But there are a lot of intangibles and things that you might not be able to predict or and not that you have to predict it. I mean, it's a little anecdote from my experience. I was very fortunate that I had a recruiter help me figure out where to play golf. That I started kind of late. Like, I don't think I started playing AJGA stuff till I was like 16. So that's pretty darn late in terms of junior golf. And the recruiter I had, he was like a third party guy who would basically like direct each person he would have under his wing and which way to go. And he's like, you're starting like very, very late. You need to just play. You need to find somewhere where you can play. And I had plenty of like D1, D2 schools reach out to me. I ended up going to a D3, but golf is so different where
Mm-hmm.
it's like we were so competitive with those D1, D2 schools. Like I didn't really play any D3 tournaments until it was like conference or nationals. Like there wasn't any tournament that was D3. We would always play up and we would smoke all those teams that they would hate us because our ranking would go like this and their ranking would just
Right.
plummet. But the point of it being is I was put in a path to like find somewhere where I could develop. And I think that's what you experienced going NIU and even I made mistakes. I mean, there was a year, my sophomore year, that I basically failed two classes and had a terrible season. Like, had to reevaluate things on a dime. I luckily somehow graduated. Literally, I remember to this day, I signed like a paper saying 126 credits, and I had exactly 126 credits. Like, couldn't cut it any closer. But I think it's that experience that has molded me into this craziness a little bit. I don't know if it's craziness, but
Definitely
I think you
craziness.
get what I'm saying. It's like there's little things in life that you don't know are going to push you in one way or another, right? And, you know, talk a little bit about, well, this is something I want to talk about as well. We all have this like fear, this FOMO that I hate the fact that I'm saying that, but everybody knows what it means now. Um, Fear of missing out for any of my anyone that doesn't know what that is, but I would think most people know that it is at this point. And it's a combination of not achieving what you expected, I think, is a big part of it. I mean, for me, I always had this plan that I was going to play professionally, or I was going to go to Q school at age 25. And then, you know, I don't think I ever had it really planned out. Like, I always thought golf was it. That was the only thing I was going to do. And now that I'm a little bit older, I wish I had prepared for any sort of path I could have taken. Like, my cousin just graduated from college, which is crazy. He was born in 2000, which is the
That's so
weirdest thing to me.
weird.
I can't, it makes me nauseous
It's
thinking about
nauseating.
it.
It really is nauseating.
Yeah. But he got a job his like after his junior year of college, which is ridiculous to me. But he set a path, and he knew exactly what his path was. But he set a path, did internships. Like, I never did any of that
Right.
stuff. It never even crossed my mind.
Right.
Um, and I was always gonna play golf. But now that I'm, like I said, a little bit older, I wish I had at least taken those precautions. And we live and we learn. We're gonna be fine at the end of the day. Um, but I'm curious your thoughts because you're on the social media side and marketing too. I think social media can be a little bit toxic in that as well, where you know you see only good stuff on social media for the most part. Like, I probably intentionally try to find some things that aren't so good sometimes to give me some balance, but like I was at a country club basically my entire life. Like, very fortunate. And I joined at age 23 just because I had to. But I always think how fortunate I am to do that, but how different that is from any of my peers. Like, who's joining a country club at age 23 and I've basically been there my entire life, and I'm seeing my friends and everyone else that didn't play professional golf or really anything in that realm, and they're going on trips or they're doing this or they're
Mhm.
doing that.
Mhm.
And I'm like, well, all my expendable income is going
Mhm.
towards this dream, right? Um, so where do you think I'll go into your story because I kind of rambled on there a little
No, no,
bit,
I'm
but
loving everything you're saying just because I can relate to it so much.
yeah. Um, let's talk a little bit about how your path has changed because it feels like from some of the stuff I've researched on you, your path has changed like 15 times. So, you're probably our first bodybuilder on here. And it's so cool that you did that. It makes me, I mean, I was doing push-ups like an hour ago to be like, I gotta up my game a
It's
little bit.
so funny.
But
Um, yeah, no, I'll talk. I mean, my path has really taken lefts and rights and ups and downs. And I was just like you know, when I decided I wanted to play in college, like that's all I could think about was going to college and then turning pro and playing professional golf. And like that was it. One of my closest friends who's from Arizona, she's on the LPGA, and I just looked up to her so much and wanted to follow exactly in her footsteps and be on tour together and, you know, live this life that 0.01% of the world gets to live. And obviously, that's not life. You know, things change and competition got better, girls got better. I mean, life circumstances were different. But I guess I'll go back to how I even got into bodybuilding first. Um,
okay.
because that was like my first real change of direction. So I was in college. I was a senior. I was taking my fifth year. And I was not very happy with how I was playing. I wasn't very confident in the fact that I was going to be able to even truly fully commit to playing professional golf because I hadn't really proven to myself that I was good enough, let alone disciplined enough to do it. And in that time, I had truly fallen in love with lifting and the gym and fitness and health and nutrition and all those things. And one of my friends who actually played soccer at Northern had just finished a competition. So I called her and we talked about it and asked her, you know, what she learned, what she liked, this and that. And I reached out to her coach and said, you know, will you coach me? I want to try this. I didn't know what it was going to look like. I didn't know what the next year was going to bring, but I basically just jumped in head first, eyes closed, didn't know anything. And basically, you know, you start in a bulk, you lift really heavy, you eat a lot, you gain a lot of weight, and then you go into a maintenance period where you're still lifting heavy and still eating a lot, but just not as much as before. And then as you start to really get into your cut down to the days before the show, is when the mental tenacity really has to kick in, physically and mentally, really. And you get to a point where you're so depleted of nutrition, of essential vitamins and minerals and water, even that you have to be able to mentally bring yourself out of this downward spiral to get yourself to show day to be able to basically show all this work that you've done over the last year.
Right.
And I knew that if I had finished the bodybuilding, I was mentally strong enough and definitely physically strong enough to go and try and achieve playing professional golf.
So give me the timeline on like how long you trained for like the show, right? And then what can you break down like did you have I assume you have like a set schedule from every hour broken down like
So,
what did that look like?
so from Thanksgiving of 2018 through spring of 2019, it was very relaxed per se. I got 6 meals a day, you know, broken down to the gram of how much I should eat. My workouts were super fun, really heavy, fun lifts. And the rest of the time, I got to do whatever I wanted. I got to play golf. I finished up school. I got to be, with family and friends and whatnot. And then from March to about July was a little bit more stricter. I had to up some cardio. I was in the gym for like probably close to 2 hours. My food got a lot stricter, but I was still eating like 5 meals a day. And my ability to go and hang out with my friends or my family was still there, but I just didn't want to because it wasn't fun. I couldn't partake in the social intricacies
Right.
of those activities, like going out to eat or drinking or whatever it may be. And then from August to the end of September was complete isolation for me. So
Interesting.
it was fasted cardio in the morning. It was breakfast and then a lift and then cardio after the lift and then sauna and steam. And then it was core and stretching. And then it was another meal. And then it was bedtime
Wow.
or posing practice. And then you do it all over again every day until the show day. So it looked a lot different in each stage, but I would say it was pretty much like a full year of everything together.
Got it. The big question is, did you pick up any distance after this whole thing? Like, I hope so.
To be honest, I lost a lot of strength by the end.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're so depleted by the end that you just don't really have the strength to hit it the way you do when you're normal.
Right. Right.
So then really I had to reverse back out of that and learn how to regain speed and strength in my golf swing.
Okay. Interesting. I have a teammate that between seasons like bulked up because he was trying to hit it further,
Yeah.
but didn't do any speed training.
Hmm.
Like just literally bulked up, and he came back and he was definitely sizable, but he was hitting it shorter than all of us. I was like, awesome.
Yeah.
You look great. You look great, man. Happy for you. But I'm still hitting it 15 by.
Right. But that's probably because when you're doing such heavy like Olympic like lifting, you become so inflexible and really immobile.
Right.
Like it's the
Right.
functional fitness and the plyometrics and Pilates and stretching and things like that that really help you launch the ball farther.
Right. Right. Well, it's for aesthetics, right? It's
Yeah,
not necessarily for
functionality.
I mean, I'm sure there's athleticism, don't get me wrong, but it's not for, it's not the same training that a hockey player would go
Correct.
through or, a basketball player would go through. But it's something that people I don't think pay attention to a lot, and I'm going off on the bodybuilding a little bit, but how difficult it is to sustain a high level in golf. Like I was never a guy that could work out and golf. Like I could do it, but I had to golf first and then work out later.
Oh, okay.
If I worked out before, I'd have no energy to go play golf. My swing would be absolutely trash. And I don't know how these guys, you see it all the time. They'll go do a workout before they're around, like in a major championship. And I'm like, I don't think I could even muster up any energy to do that. Obviously, they've trained their body this way. But I don't think, and this is kind of going back to how we balanced ourselves at college. Like it was one of the hardest things to do is being an athlete and school at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
I still don't know how. I don't know how I did
Mm-hmm.
it. A lot of caffeine, a lot of Red Bull, probably.
A lot of like 20-minute naps in between classes.
Yeah, I was a professional napper
Yep.
by
Oh yeah.
middle of freshman year. I think actually, now that I think about it, my freshman year, I'd have classes until like I want to say like 1:30 and practice was at 2. So I would take like a 20-minute nap and then practice was 10 minutes away. So it's definitely you're not wrong. You're pretty on the nose there. But I don't think golfers get enough credit in terms of how long it takes not only just to practice golf. when you're practicing, if you played 18 holes, there's 5 hours gone. And then you're probably hitting balls on top of that. There's another hour and a half or two if you're doing it like we were. Short game's probably another hour. So what is that, 7 hours? And there's probably 2 or 3 more hours out there you could squeeze in if you really wanted to. Like when I was playing professionally, it would be that. And then you got to somehow go to the gym, somehow do all your homework if you were in school at the time. I mean, I'm sure when you're at that level, you're doing probably mental homework, right?
Yeah.
To give yourself some sort of an
Yeah.
edge. Like that's a lot of energy, and all these guys that are out there on tour doing it have families. Like Jason Day has a family of 4 or 5. I don't know. He only has 2 hands. I don't know how he does it. It's just some.
It's
I need to
unbelievable.
probably figure out how I can get my energy level a little bit higher, I guess. But I think it needs to. We need to get golfers more credit
I
somehow.
agree. I
Um,
totally agree. And to be honest, like it's golf's a very interesting sport. You know, you can pick it apart a million different ways, but everyone is so different and unique. And I think the hardest part though is like actually figuring out what works best for you and you only. Like it's great
yeah,
to look at what other people do and say, "Oh, you know, they're top ranked, you know, fifth in the world, like I should emulate myself after them." But what works for number 5 in the world might not work for you. And maybe getting a
right,
workout in before a round helps them, but to you, it's completely exhausting. So
yeah,
it's so interesting. Like, and that was the hardest part about playing professionally, I think, is like you see all of these other girls like practicing hours before a round, which I never really did. But when I saw it, I'm like, oh, maybe I should be hitting balls for 2 hours, like before a round, or, you know,
right,
these things that pop into your head that you never thought of. But now you see other people do them and you're like, should I do that? Will that make me better? Like, and then you're kind of losing sight of who you are as a player and what's really going to make you strive the most out on the golf course. And like, that's the hardest part, I think, is that what the pros have really harnessed is figuring out what's best for them and sticking to it and putting on blinders and like not really focusing on what anyone else is doing.
right. Yeah, it's a good point. How do you figure out what works best for you? There's so many books out there. There's so many different ways of teaching. Um, for me, I've never been like a practicer. Like I'll do it, but I always preferred to go
Yeah.
play. I feel like I always got the most out of that. Where we at my senior year we had the number one player in the nation on our team, and he was a range rat. He would never go play. So you're always questioning, like, is that the way I want to go? It worked great for him. That guy hit every fairway and hit it 320 yards for 7, 8 straight months. I still remember watching him on the range. I was just like, he's asking me to watch his swing. I'm like, dude,
Like there's nothing to
why,
fix
why,
here.
what am I watching
Yeah.
here? Are you just trying to show off? Like, he's not that kind of guy. And if he's listening, and I heard he's actually listened to every episode, so he's definitely going to listen to this one. But he, he my, my teammates have been giving me a lot of shit since I started this podcast. So that's a lot of the fun for me, at least.
That is fun. You should
Um,
have one of them on and grill them.
Yeah, I thought about it. I met with one of them for a drink the other day, and the first thing he did was like try to spark some controversy for the podcast. He wanted to talk about the the ball like rollback, and we had I don't know if we had two different opinions. I think he just took the opposite opinion of what my opinion was, so he can start some shit up.
That's so funny.
Um, but we will have to have a boys episode at some point. I don't know when. We're always on crazy busy schedules, so but we'll have to definitely do it. I want to do it with we need to do a backswing one with multiple backswingers. I know you guys were at some girls night out last night. I should have called in and just
You
been like a
should
fly on the
have.
wall.
We should have like propped you up on a little tripod on the table, like as if you were having dinner with us.
Yeah, yeah. Or just hand me to the waiter, and I'll just order for
Right, and then it comes to
everyone.
the table and
Uh,
everyone's like, I can't eat that, I can't have that.
how does how does a dinner, or I guess you guys had a dinner, right? So how does a dinner with five backswingers go? Is there
Oh my gosh.
a lot of gossip? Is there like,
It's
I mean,
so
I can't stop looking at the ring, by the way. Congratulations
Oh,
on the wedding coming up.
thank you.
You
Do
keep
I?
showing it to the camera. So
I don't mean
I'm
to.
sure it's I'm sure you do.
No,
I'm sure you do.
it's like old news. My sister got engaged like 2 weeks ago, so that's like the new news. So
Okay.
enough about me. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. We're very excited. But no, so a backswing dinner, at least with the girls that were there last night, it is a lot of chatting. Like there's probably three conversations going on at one time, and then they are intermingling. So like you're in a conversation with someone, but you overhear someone saying something else, so you're going to add into that conversation. But then this person is going to talk to this person over here, and it's just like yada yada
Right.
yada yada. It is. It's so fun. It's just when you aren't in college anymore, like, and you live alone, or you live with your partner, or like whomever, like you don't get that girl time anymore, and so it's just like really
Right.
nice to just scream and like be loud and not have anyone tell you like, shh, you're hurting my ears.
Yeah. No, I get it. It's making me think. Have you seen, since you're a former actress, the actors like round table?
Yes.
It was like there's like a famous one with like Tom
Yep.
Hanks and like Robert De Niro, all those guys. Maybe we should do a backswing round table. I think we could put this microphone right in the middle of the table. Well, we might need a couple actually,
Yeah, it's gonna definitely
because
gonna be
there'd be
like,
so much back
yes, that
there'd
would
be so
be
much back and
so much
forth.
fun. And honestly, I don't know what would be said. I just feel like everyone has their own unique, vibrant personality, and sometimes it's just like you never know what's gonna happen when. It could
Yeah.
be a hot episode.
I like that idea. I can be the moderator and be like a neutral party and bring some hot topics in.
Yeah. Or you can
Okay. I
start
might
some shit and bring in the other
oh,
opinion.
I would definitely start some shit. I I don't know. I think it would be fun to see what would happen. So maybe we'll get this going. I will be hopefully in Arizona soon. I don't know. It's hot there. It's hot here. I just want to not be in any heat for like just a day would be great. Um, I don't know if you can tell, but I've been sweating this entire episode. So
No, I cannot
um,
tell. You look cool as a cucumber to me.
great. That filter is working wonders.
Yes, it really is.
This is actually the lowest energy usage episode I've done. So I don't have any lights on in my house except for this thing back here and then my fancy little ring light. So we're saving energy, um, trying to be sustainable.
There you go.
I also have a lot of my stuff in boxes, so that's part of the problem. But um, let's see how much are we doing on time. Let's get into like a couple shotgun spinner questions.
Yeah, let's do it.
Um, so for the audience out there that haven't seen our episodes or aren't watching this video right now, we have a little Wheel of Fortune type spinner that I may or may not have bought on Amazon, that has 13 different topics on it. And we'll kind of just see what happens. So let's give it a quick spin here. Um, Shelby and I are not convinced this thing isn't rigged because it goes to a lot of the same topics. So, um, travel. So, what are some things that are travel essentials for you?
Okay.
Like for me, I always need my massage gun. Like that has to come with me at all times. Laptop is always a cop out, I think. So don't say laptop. But give us a couple
Yeah.
travel essentials, and then maybe some hidden gems that you think might help some people out.
Okay. Well, I mean, I usually never travel without my golf clubs, but like that's kind of a given, so we'll push that one aside. I am always traveling with food, always.
Okay.
Like, I think I have this, which is horrible. but I have this irrational fear of being hungry.
Yep.
Like, even they give you free snacks on the plane, or like you can buy an overpriced snack in the airport, like that's fine. But like, no, like I need ample amounts of choices at any point in time in
Yeah.
the time of my traveling. So,
And you have them with
oh,
you. Like that's the big thing too, right?
it like makes me feel very safe. It's literally
Right.
like a hug, which is so cheesy, but it's so true. So I always have food on me, like whether it's, protein bars or jerky sticks or chips or gum or whatever. Always have food. Um, a foam roller. Always bring a foam roller. I have one that like kind of collapses flat so I can put it in a suitcase, which is super
That's
convenient. Yeah,
awesome.
super convenient, but it saves me. You sit on the plane for however long, and when you walk off, like your blood needs to recirculate. Your body's been stiff from sitting for however long. Like the foam roller is a must. I
Yeah.
would
So I
say,
already know the answer. I already know the answer to this.
okay,
But if you're given a choice to sit on a plane or be like strapped to the side of it where you're standing, which one would you prefer? Because I think I would pick the
I would
standing option because I hate sitting.
100%. I would pick the standing option. I have dreams. This is so weird that I'm like admitting this, but I have dreams where you're allowed to go outside while you're in the air on the plane. So like I open the window and I like crawl out and I like sit on the wing as we're like in the air, but like in my dream, I can hear the wind like like in my face, and my face is like this, and like my hair is
You're
like
just
this.
going out for a
Yeah,
stroll.
yeah. So I would definitely pick strapped to the plane, standing, 100%.
One of the worst things that would happen to me is whenever I was traveling, like I was always driving probably 99% of the time. And I'd always get like a leg cramp. So I have a little ball,
Mm-hmm.
like it actually is electronic and like
Mm-hmm.
vibrates, but it's a little like hyperized ball. And I have to throw it underneath my leg if my well, it depends on how I'm sitting. If I have the way I'm sitting right, I'm usually okay. But most of the time I fuck it up. So it's like probably 3 hours in, and then I start feeling it like tighten up. And my family makes fun of me all the time for it because I'm like a 30-year-old man with an 80-year-old
Yeah.
body.
No, I
But
have the same ball. I have the same issue. Like, it's real. It's a real life for a golfer.
okay, that makes me feel a little
Yeah.
better. Um, sorry, go ahead.
No.
Any other travel tips?
If you're going to travel with someone, this is my biggest tip, is that make sure that if they're a friend, they are someone that you will not get sick of. And if they're not a friend, someone that you can tolerate. Because if you're with someone that you can't tolerate, that's not really a friend, you're not going to play well. Your mind isn't going to be in the right spot. And if you're traveling with a friend that you won't, that you're going to get sick of, it's going to ruin your friendship and you're going to play like crap. So it's just
Yep.
not a good, not a good way to be. So if you're going to travel
You
with
need some
someone,
good
you need some good
you need
juju.
some good vibes.
Yes.
Yeah. I can vouch for that. That makes sense. Some of my best events are when I'm like not even paying attention to the golf because of who I'm with
Mm-hmm.
or where I
Mm-hmm.
am. Because I can definitely I feel that that was oddly specific towards somebody though.
Well,
I feel like that something happened recently.
no, no. When I was playing professional golf, I traveled with my best friend, and it was just like the best combination possible. We never, ever like had an altercation or a tiff or a fight or anything. Like we just like totally understood each other, like our needs when we needed to be alone, when we needed to not talk in the car, in like our 8 hour drives. Like it was just perfect. And I can't imagine traveling with someone who I love but like can't tolerate. It'd be horrible.
Yeah, it's very key whoever you have in the passenger seat with you. Like it's it's really important. Like I'll give you a quick anecdote.
Yeah,
So I drove
please.
out from San Diego to Austin with my sister, who both of us like she's my best friend hands
Oh,
down. Like
I love
she's the
that.
biggest dork. Um and we both consider ourselves professional drivers. Like me from traveling, and then she was an event planner in LA. So she knows the routes, like she knows how to drive. Like it was like we were meant for this drive. So we would take shifts, and after this is my tidbit for anyone driving. You could maybe do it on a flight too. I haven't tried it on a flight, but it's easier when you're driving. So we would high five each other after every hour that we would
Ah,
go. So I think that kept us going. Plus, we were like having fun and like talking shit about our lives. But that was something we would do every time. And my sister went like the first 9 hours, and I was like, "Are you sure you're good to go?" I'm like, "Yeah, okay." And then of course, me the next day, I have to go 9 hours now that she's set the bar that high.
right.
So
Then it gets
I think
competitive.
it's 100%, yeah. But I think the point is we knew we were going to tolerate each other either way. Um, maybe just because we know each other and we're going to go with the flow, either like whatever. But try it for yourself. The high five, set an increment, you know, or I don't know. Maybe it's like one of those things where you give yourself a snack,
Oh,
like every period. Like give yourself some incentive. I don't know if that helps.
that definitely
I
helps.
think it helps, but
That's actually a great idea.
yeah. Yeah. So I got to do that drive here shortly again, but
Well, get your hands ready for
it's
those
not.
high fives
It's yeah.
to yourself.
um, yeah. Um, no, she's gonna fly out. I hope. I gotta keep poking at her. Be like, you're coming to help me, right? Because we have fun. We go try out restaurants on the
Oh, that's
way and
fun.
whatever. So,
That's super fun.
dude, I'm getting so freaking old. So I don't know if you noticed, I
I
had this like thing on my
I did
finger
notice. What is
the
that
whole
all
time.
about?
So it's called Stamina Pro. Have you seen these before?
Mm,
It's like a icy hot patch, but it doesn't have icy hot. It's like I don't know what it is,
okay.
but it works better for me.
Okay.
It's anti-inflammation.
Oh, love that.
So I heard, yeah. So it's really. I have one actually on my neck right now. It's
You are old.
really solid and doesn't have like that menthol like grossness and everything. Um, but I hurt my finger somehow playing video games, playing Call of Duty. I was I don't know, was going a little. I think that in combination with like typing, it's like the joint of my finger. I don't know. It's in a weird spot, but it just won't go away. And then hitting balls today probably didn't help. But
So odd.
just the weirdest things make. I don't know.
I feel like,
Don't get old. I'm almost
yeah.
32 now, so it's not good. Don't get old,
Well,
people.
I also feel like if you hurt like a toe or a finger, you don't actually realize how much you use your toes and your fingers until they're hurt, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, I can't do normal things
Yep.
that I wouldn't think twice about doing."
Yeah.
Happens to me all the time.
Yeah.
But I'm
I
just a
remember
klutz.
as a I remember as a kid, you would see like TV shows or movies or whatever of like older people stubbing their toes, and you would always like laugh at that. And now that I'm getting older, I'm like, my amount of toe stubbing has gone way up as I've gotten older. Like it's probably at this point I'm thinking like once every couple of weeks.
What?
It happens way more than it
That is
should.
so funny.
So I'd be curious if someone has research out there. I don't know how would you even research that, but I would think your stubbing toe amount goes up as you get older, and then maybe goes down as you get older, like old, like where you're not walking around as
Yeah,
much.
maybe. I don't know. We'd have
I
to
don't
do
know.
like a worldwide massive survey asking people based
Yeah,
on their age how many times they stub their toe.
it sounds like a lot of
It
work.
does.
So I better get started. Okay, we'll go on to one more topic here, and I'll let you go. Thanks for the time. I
Well,
appreciate it.
thank you for having me. This is so fun.
Mhm. Yeah, no problem. Um, okay, so it went to routine.
Oh,
So this is kind of I mean, depends on how you look at it, I suppose. But like, let's go into golf
hmm
routine. So I think something that's super important is having a consistent not only like practice routine, but while you're playing, having that consistency, right? It's like if you were a basketball player taking a free throw, you do the same thing every single time, right? For me, what's something I do every single time? Putting, I have like the same walk in that I've had probably for 10
Right.
years now. Like it's pretty much the same. I clean the face of my putter, walk into it, and then set my feet looking at the hole, and then pull the trigger and go. Like that's pretty much been it the whole time. There's maybe been some iterations here and there, but that's pretty much the gist of it. So what do you got?
For my routine, well, I've actually seen a couple of mental coaches about this when I was younger, and it was interesting because we would come up with like three mantras of what I would say behind the ball. And then as I'm finishing the last sentence, I'm walking into the ball. I have a little waggle before, but it wouldn't be consistent of how many times I would waggle it. So I waggle now like 3 times, and then I set the club on the ground and then I go. And that's like my trigger. And
Hmm.
I just did it for so long that I don't even think about it anymore. I say the things in my head, I walk up, I waggle, I go. And I mean, sometimes like my tempo was off if I rushed through it, or, I just didn't make that good of a swing. But in terms of routine, that's just something I found worked for me and takes my mind completely off of like the mechanics of the swing. Because that's
Right.
my biggest issue, really, is anything iron based. For some reason, though, like with the driver or the putter, I don't even know if I do the same thing every time. I just think I'm so confident in those two parts of the bread of the sandwich, if you want to go ahead and say, that I just
Hmm.
kind of do whatever feels right in the moment.
Right. Well, there's another thing. Like you found something you're confident in, so you don't even think about it. Right. It's maybe because you think about it a little bit more, and it's something that just comes with playing. And I've had so many people come up to me on my side hustle, like asking me for golf
Right.
advice. Is like you just gotta, at the end of the day, you kind of just gotta put the work in and figure out whatever is gonna come out of it. And my dad's probably the one I've helped out the most in terms of this stuff, and he's always had like a little bit of an issue with the driver. I'm like, dude, your driver looks fine. You just think there's something wrong. Just get up and hit it. Like a lot of the time, that works out pretty darn well. Like there's one thing I did, who I should have on the podcast at some point, Robert Lang, who is a former NHL player, really good golfer, a member at my club back in San Diego. And once in a while, we'll go out on the course and work on driver because we don't have a range that has like enough room for driver. So we'll go out and he'll bring like a dozen balls and we'll go work on some things. And I remember it to a T. There's a whole 15 that's like pretty close to the ocean, and the guy is a big fisher, so I know he has some connection with water. But his driver swing looked totally fine, but he was like totally in his
Yeah.
head and just couldn't
Yeah.
figure it out. And I took the driver away from him, and I'm like, I turned him towards the water, and there's a boat out there. I'm like, stare at that boat for 30 seconds, and then I turned him around, handed him the driver, and go hit it, and he striped it right down the middle. I'm like, there's nothing wrong. You just have to commit to whatever you're doing.
Get out of your
I
own head and
mean,
get out of your own way. It's like not just for golf, but like in life in general. Like whenever you feel
in
stuck,
life,
you just
yeah,
have to like take a beat, take a moment,
yeah.
remove yourself from the situation, get back in it, and just do what your gut says.
Yeah, it's easier said than
Oh,
done. I mean,
100%. But
we all
like,
we all have our faults, but it's like you got to recognize it at some point. It's like maybe I'm thinking about this a little too much, and that's probably for me one of the hardest things in golf to just let it go. Just like, and who was it I saw recently? I think it was Steph Curry. I think it was Steph Curry on like Hot Ones. He was talking about being on a heater
mm-hmm.
and like if he feels it when he's on a heater. And I think he just said, I just know when I am, which is such a interesting. He doesn't try to poke at it, which I think is something that I tend to do is like, oh, I'm, you know, really feeling this part of my game or that part of my game, but I want to figure out why I'm feeling it. I'm like, maybe you don't need to. Maybe it's okay to just let it be, right?
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. It's something that something I think with the way golfers are brought up, because there are so many ways that you can dissect it. And I think there's another quote from like Jack Nicklaus is like, it is the, or maybe it's Honor Palmer. It's like the simplest, hardest game there is.
Yes.
Like just once you get to a certain point, I think for someone at our level or even a bit higher, it gets to be at a point where it's less and less of stuff that you would work on. It's almost just working on yourself.
Hmm.
Um, so anyway, I went a little deeper than I thought I
No,
was
I
going to
love
go
that.
with
No,
that.
I really,
But
I really love that. And I think just to go off of you going a little bit deeper is that that's kind of the beauty of golf. And even though like you and I can't really speak for you, but from what we talked about a little bit earlier, like didn't really achieve what we thought we were going to in the golf world, like it's still, at least for me, taught me so many life lessons, such as that, such as you
mhm,
just have to let it go sometimes. Like, I know
yeah,
it's in there, it's just not the time right now. And, the thought or the feeling or whatever will come back eventually. And I'll take it up on that opportunity when it comes. But to just like take a moment and reset, I think is super important, not just in golf, but like in everything in life.
yeah. I think for golfers especially, we all have that thought, especially when you're a professional golfer. It only takes one good week,
Yeah.
right? Maybe we need to have that. There's another idea for a T-shirt, but it only takes it only takes one good week, and I think we all have that mentality as golfers that even at a lower amateur level, everyone always talks about it. Is like you could be playing horribly, and it just takes one shot to like click in, and you're sucked right back in, right? But it's not over. We still got time. I got tournaments I'm signing up
Oh, I love
for
that.
at some point. Um, I shouldn't say that out loud because it hasn't happened yet. But
Somewhere in the
I tried to
future,
sign up. Yeah, it's out. It's out. I could
it's
see
out
it.
there.
It's out there. One tidbit for anyone trying to play in a Texas tournament and they have a gin in California, you got to get a Texas gin, which is the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Do you really?
Um, yeah, yeah, you have to have a Texas. It's like having a Texas license plate. It doesn't make any sense. I don't. I
Texas
try
is
to
their
sign up for the
own.
Texas State Am. They're their
They're
own
their own.
country at this
Yes,
point.
yes.
Um, yeah, I was so shocked. I'm like, dude, I'll pay for the tournament. You're not gonna let me in because I have a California gin. What difference does that make? I'll still go play. Like
What was the answer?
I would that I had to have a Texas handicap.
That's
So
bizarre.
I don't. Yeah, I don't understand the pushback on that. It's like, okay, what's the worst case scenario that I get into the tournament, I go win, and then they're handing me the trophy, and they're like, oh, he has a California handicap. He wasn't like I don't
Like you weren't
understand.
eligible?
I don't know. It's just golf at the end of the day. Just let me in. I just want to play.
Yeah.
I just want to play. Anyway. Uh, well, Lexi, thanks so much for being on this episode. I do appreciate the time.
Yeah, thanks for
We'll
having me.
definitely have to go down that round table idea. I definitely think there's something there. Um, so might be making a trip out to Arizona
Yes.
here shortly.
That would be
Um,
awesome. Or we can even like mic up on the golf course and play a match or something. If you really
yes,
want to get into the backswing girls and who
yeah.
we really are, it's us on the golf course for sure.
You're letting the cat out of the bag. I already have that stuff kind of planned out. So I have tested out some encore stuff, which we will be doing here shortly. The the funny thing about that is you need your microphones to work properly when you go and do that. Isn't that funny? You need the audio to come out because when it doesn't work very well.
Right. Isn't this such
Um,
a weird idea?
yeah, maybe I can just make it like olden days where there's no sound and there's just like subtitles. I don't think that's very good. That's not very watchable, but
We'll figure it out.
we'll figure it out. But yes, we will do some encore stuff here shortly. Another reason I am getting out of this podunk Austin town. Got to get myself back to where there's actual golf courses and it's not 90 degrees at 10 o'clock in the morning. Well, I shouldn't say that. Arizona's still hot,
It is
but
hot.
at least I don't know. It's still doable in my mind, and it's
It's
only
because Arizona's the best. You can
that's
probably
a topic for
disagree.
another. It's a topic for another
I know.
conversation.
Probably shouldn't have started that one. We'll put that one aside for next time.
Next time. All right. Next episode is going to be on Arizona versus everywhere else.
Yeah.
Um, anyway, for our listeners out there, thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you on the next episode of Off the Collar. Be sure to check us out on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Music, and wherever else our stuff is available. We'll see you on the next episode. Yeah.
This has been Off the Collar, powered by Backswing Golf Events.